Welcome to Maker Conversations. I'm your host, Tiff Marchand, and today on the show, we have Thelma from TK Woodworking. I got to hang out with her at Workbench Con, which was super fun, and I knew then that I wanted to have her on the show, and I knew that the perfect person to interview her would be her good friend, Christy from Oak Hill Millworks, which I love Christy already. I've had her on Behind the Maker podcast, so it was a pleasure to sit down and get to know Thelma and learn about what makes her tick. And we've talked about a lot of fun stories and kind of how Starbucks plays a very big role in her life. So check it out. And a huge thank you to our sponsor, Sabertooth. You guys are awesome. And if you want to learn how to power carve and you're going to grab some burrs, use NIGHTCARVER 10 in all caps, and that'll save you 10%. All right, on with the show.
My palms are sweaty. These weak arms.
Arms are heavy.
You can hear me now, right? I switched audio. Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
it sounds awesome.
Sweet.
There we go. Crisis averted.
Right?
So I have questions for everybody right now. What is Christy eating and what are you drinking?
Well,
Cup Blizzard.
Oh my goodness.
Very tall one.
yeah, I'm drinking whiskey.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been a long.
Orange in it.
I've got an unsweetened iced tea.
No, it's an.
I know you don't drink.
Yeah.
It's an orange peel. Yeah, it's supposed to bring out the flavor of the whiskey. I'm joking. I don't know. It tastes good with it, so I left it in there.
It makes your drinks taste like tire shine. That's what it does.
You don't like orange slices?
Like Pledge. It brings me back to my childhood of having to clean furniture with Pledge.
So that was a big part of your childhood. That's interesting.
Cleaning.
Oh.
You've never seen those memes? So I'm Mexican. And
right.
No.
I know.
No,
It's
I know. For some people, I have to remind them. The last name kind of throws people off a little bit. Before I was Kennedy, my last name was Gutierrez. And on Saturdays, when we would wake up, we all knew it was a cleaning day. My mom would throw back Mexican music. And we all knew that it didn't matter if you wanted to sleep in, you were going to get your door knocked on and you had to clean the entire house.
nice.
Company didn't even have to be coming over. That's just the day that we clean. And our whole house smelled like fabuloso and
It's a good smell though.
House of Esperanza, I think, just did a story or something on that.
Yeah, she did.
It's real.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
So now I have moments where other people are cleaning and I'm sitting and I'm like, I can't be sitting. I'm going to get yelled at. I need to start doing something. So then I just pretend I gotta go clean something.
Start straightening things for them. Let me fluff your pillows.
Right? Let me dust this off for you.
I'm going to pull up your Instagram feed, TK. I want to know what you've been up to lately.
Oh, not a lot.
Have you been in the shop lately?
I have not, actually.
How long?
It's been a week and a half.
That's nothing, man.
I know. So I got
I'm just feeling that's a lot.
It is. I mean, I've had moments where I've actually gone a lot longer without being in the shop. I think it's mainly for my mental health.
Yeah.
But this time it has actually been sets of cornhole orders and vinyl stencils that I have to fulfill. So I always make sure I get those done first, and then social media kind of takes a back burner.
How many cornhole boards you do? Average per season?
I do probably about 7 to 8. Because it depends on how custom they are. If they're simple, I can do more, but I try not to. I had this conversation actually with Cole when we were at Workbench Con, and him and I kind of share that same view about woodworking, and it was, you want it to be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a full-time job and I don't want woodworking to ever feel like that. So I take on like what I know that I can handle while still working a full-time job and trying to balance like family and life, so try not to like overwhelm myself since
it's a really hard balance when you are trying to juggle everything.
Absolutely. Especially like this is a hobby for me. I see it more as like I get very like anxious. It takes a while for me to kind of open up and talk to people. Sometimes I kind of have to force myself. So like in situations where there's large crowds, like I usually like internally will feel like all the anxiety, and I work at Starbucks with a bunch of people. So when I get home, like I feel drained, and woodworking is kind of like what puts me back at ease. So I'm like, I never want it to be so overwhelming that I don't want to do it.
Yeah, you were working the room though, workbench con after a while.
I was gonna say she was pretty good. I don't know.
It takes, like I said, it takes a while. Some good pep talks will sometimes help. Especially like after you pay so much for your ticket, I'm all like, I'm gonna get full use out of this.
Right.
Every single person in this room if I have to.
You really did, man.
Yeah, I had so much fun getting to meet all the people that were there. I actually met Christy for the first time there.
Me too.
We were already homies.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know it, but we are.
No,
that was fun.
It was really awesome. Like Makers Camp was really fun in October, but like Workbench Con, there were so many more people there. It was insane. I was just like, you look everywhere you look, it's somewhere like you knew at least 5 people in the general area. It was insane.
Yeah. And it's awesome.
Have you gone to Makers Camp, T?
I have not gone to Makers Camp. But I was told by my wife that if I go to Makers Camp, because it's in New York, right?
Yeah.
That I can't go without her.
Okay, a lot of people bring their partners though, because they can just get a $15 spectator pass.
Exactly. And I told her, I'm all like, look, this is perfect. Because I wanted her to come with me to Atlanta too. I'm like, I'm sorry, but it's $550 a ticket. You're not doing anything. I can't afford you to be like, I can't afford you being there.
Right. Well, yeah. And she might not
wanted to go to Workbench. It's like so busy. It seems like Makers Camp is more chill.
Yeah. I think she wouldn't know what to do with herself while she was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of felt that way too, though. So no worries, Heather.
But yeah, so if I do end up going this year, she'll tag along because she 100% said, I want to visit New York. You can't go without me. That's not non-negotiable. So I was like, okay.
I mean, she could always leave you too. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm like, where'd she go? I'm in New York right now.
Yeah. I mean, she could take an hour or 2 drive and go to the city if she wanted. Come back later. Why not?
She could. I mean, if you guys are coming all the way across country, you might as well make like a bigger trip out of it.
Right. So long as nothing happens like my last flight, because usually I have direct flights, and that flight from LA to Georgia
on the way out.
Wild ride.
What happened to you?
I had my tickets booked. I was leaving Thursday, like really early. Everything was set. And I got a notification saying my flight had been canceled. And my only option was to leave that Wednesday or to leave, I think, Friday morning, because there was no other flights. I'd be getting there at like 1:00 in the morning on Thursday.
Was it because of that big storm that was happening?
I don't know. It was so I ended up taking out, like leaving from LAX on Wednesday afternoon, like at 2:00. I didn't get to Atlanta until 3:30 in the morning. And we didn't have like our Airbnb that was going to be set up until Thursday. So I was just like, I'll just sleep in the airport. But apparently that's illegal.
Yeah, there's like no.
Yeah, there's no space.
Let me text some people.
Yeah. So Christy actually helped out a lot, and I ended up staying. Dang it, I always struggle. It's Tamara.
Yeah.
She let me stay with her, and where the Uber dropped me off, all of the houses or condo things look the same. So all you just see is just like me walking up and down.
That was a door-to-door salesman at 3 a.m.
A door-to-door salesman with a duffel bag of sneakers and a suitcase, just going up and down and up and down. And I had a keypad on each and every one of these door gates. So I walk up to the first one, I enter the pin that I got, and then it would beep and flash red. And I'm like, it's not here. So then I went across the street and then I pulled out my GPS. I'm like, where else can it be? Like, I almost legit started crying in like this 3-way intersection. I'm all like, someone's going to come and just take my stuff. And then I'm just going to be in the middle of the street. Oh. And I finally like ended up doing like the walking feature on the GPS.
Yeah.
And like literally it walked me to the door and it was right across. I entered the code and I don't think I've ever been happier to be in a stranger's house ever. Like I went in because I had been like, the airport in Atlanta is long.
It is. It takes forever to get out of there.
My feet hurt. I was like, I'm not built for this. Anyway, so I finally got there. I got 2 hours of sleep and then we had to wake up and check out. And then the time difference didn't help. But all in all, I'm just glad I had somewhere to actually like crash.
You're not the only one who had issues flying, like, because I was manning Workbench Con's Instagram, right? So everybody was like messaging, like, my flight's delayed. Can I get a refund if I can't make? Like I'm getting all like these logistic questions,
no,
for like the first like couple of days, and I'm traveling myself, and I'm like trying to help people, and I'm like, I go to my husband because we had to get to the airport. We had to leave at like 2 or 3 a.m. right? And I'm like, if our flight gets messed up like everybody else's, I'm gonna be so sad. But we ended up getting there fine. On the way back though, the air conditioners didn't work on the plane and I wanted to cry. The whole flight. It was so hot. I was just sitting there like,
that's awful.
Miserable the whole time. Yeah.
I had bad flights, but I at least got on time. Like I had really bad turbulence on both the way there and the way home.
Yeah, it was not good traveling day. Like,
no, because we hit turbulence. There was a storm. Like I just, for shits and giggles, I was like, I'm going to drink at every airport we stopped. And we stopped at a lot.
Just for shits and giggles.
Yeah, I'm just going to drink a beer. And like, I'm going to drink the beer of whatever state I'm in and try it. So I tried like a couple like local beers. And then I'm like, dang, we keep stopping in different parts of Dallas. There's only so many Dallas beers you can try. But there was a storm. I think our last stop was in San Antonio. And then it went from San Antonio to Atlanta. And that was one of like the worst turbulence I had the whole entire trip. And then you could see, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like flashing lights. And it's like this giant storm like underneath. And I'm like, that's trippy, but kind of cool. And like the plane's like just going like this. And I'm like, I'm not going to die today. It's not my time. I have to go to Workbench.
Oh my gosh. I didn't realize that was that bad.
Yeah, the plane was shaking really bad. I'm like, nope. I'm all like, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. And
I mean if anything, that just took away all of your anxiety because you had to concentrate on not dying there at that time. When you got to Workbench Con, you were ready. All that fear is gone.
Exactly. I'm all like, nothing beats really bad turbulence like that. I think I can say hi to people I don't know.
Exactly. I can handle this.
Oh my gosh. And handle it, you did.
Yeah. So
you brought all your sneakers too. I was telling Tiff you're a total sneakerhead.
Ah, huge sneakerhead. Check it out. It's May the 4th.
There, look at that.
Ooh, baby.
So
she can tell you like the history, the origin stories behind all these shoes. Like, nut.
Skating shoes, but I picked them for the Boba Fett colors since it's Thursday.
There you go.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it is the appropriate day for this.
Right? And my Mandalorian shirt.
Oh man, I really missed the boat today.
You missed what?
I missed the boat on the May the 4th be with you.
I posted a Yoda carving on Sabretooth's page today. I was like, and I did my work and at Workbench Con, I put Luke's piece this morning.
Yeah, you did. I saw that.
Yeah. I was like, I'll make sure that it gets honored somehow. Huh? I was just like waiting that morning. I'm like, come on, somebody post something.
I didn't post anything. I've been in a fog. I got home at like 9 something last night.
Yeah, but you were just like adventuring. How long were you over there? You're in Nebraska, right?
10 days.
That's a long time.
Oh man, that is a long time.
But my flight went great on the way home, and I slept for 12 hours overnight. Like a
You
newborn
earned
baby.
those hours.
Tapped.
Well, I was doing some stocking, and you started off just like with a small piece, then you jumped right into cornhole boards. Like,
yep.
You were just like, okay, I made this. Let's go.
Yeah, so I actually didn't start because of the cornhole board. I actually started because my wife wanted makeup dividers for a drawer.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've seen like those white IKEA like drawers, because they're perfect. Usually like makeup artists will gravitate towards them because they hold like everything you need for makeup. And she wanted dividers inside of these drawers so she could put like all of like blushes and compact. Look at me, I know about makeup. And just to divide it all, because she has like a lot of makeup. And I was like, okay, like let's do this. And I ended up buying, I think it's called the Blade Runner, which is this thing where you just like shove in like a jigsaw blade and it sticks up. And I'm like, I can't make this out of this.
Never heard of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just tearing through like this 1/4-inch ply that I bought. And I'm like, this was a terrible idea. I should have just bought whatever she showed me like on Amazon to divide in the drawers, because it was like probably like $20.
Right.
I ended up buying that Blade Runner that turned into a table saw, that turned into a miter saw. And then I was just like, oh no, you don't need to buy that. I can make that. And like it turned into like me making things that I thought to myself, that's easy. I can make that. And I'm like, I do not have the tools for that. Why did I agree to this? And that's actually how I ended up like building up like the majority of my tools that are like in my shop right now.
Nice. You made me something back in the day. It was like 2019. I think you made me a sick business card holder.
Yep.
Made like out purple. Of like, was it Purple Heart and something?
It was Purple Heart. It was like probably the most beautiful mahogany I had ever seen, because it had like the sheer to it that I've never seen in any other of like mahogany that I've bought. So I don't even know what type of mahogany that was. And some
gorgeous.
Yeah, it was. I was really sad when like I finally ran out of that piece of mahogany, because it was really nice. And you would tilt it and it almost looked like a holographic piece of mahogany.
Cool. Yeah, it was beautiful. You were so sweet to send that out.
She's like, how many small projects can I make with this piece of wood to make it last?
I'll be like, nope, I'm saving this. And I think now I have like 2 scrap pieces of it. Not enough to really make anything.
Have you ever built anything for your shoes? Like a shoe display of some kind?
She did. I saw it while stalking.
Did you?
Yep. It is home to my most pride like possessions like of like my shoe collection. Is they sit in like what I had made. So it's probably like about, I want to say maybe like 7 shelves. And it's like the perfect height for my Air Jordan 1s. I'm a huge fan of high tops.
So I saw that.
They have to be like enough to hold that. So it goes from top to bottom. It's like all of my Air Jordan 1s. And then I like migrates into Jordan 3s, which is my second favorite pair of shoe, Jordan 4s, and then my Dunks. They just all sit on the bottom. Yeah.
Every time I see cool shoes, I don't know what they are, but I'm like, Thelma would appreciate those shoes.
Just the smile that comes out on her face though when she's talking about them. I'm literally just sitting here watching you and just smiling because of how happy you are to be talking about your collection. Yeah.
It's a love story. If she actually goes into detail about it, you'll be impressed, because she like weaves a whole story about why she's passionate about these shoes.
Do you stop random people when they're walking by if you really like their shoes? You do. I had a feeling.
She definitely does. I witnessed that.
I think part of it is kind of like when you see something that you really like, and that's with anything. I feel like a lot of people don't take the time to actually, and for various reasons, for like being nervous or, you know, for perhaps the way the other person is going to react for saying it. But for the most part, I'm like, if I really enjoy something, I'm going to tell that person, hey, like that looks good on you, in like the least creepiest way that I could possibly say it. So it's the same thing with shoes. And every now and then people will do that and they'll be like, oh, I love your shoes. Like, so they say things like, that's my grail, or like a shoe that they're really like, they really go after, or they're trying to get, but haven't like found it in their size for the right price. And they're all like, I really love your shoes. And I'm like, thank you so much. Like, I appreciate it. So I do that to like other people when I'm like, I really like your shoes. And I know half of it, they probably look at me like, what do you even know about my shoes? I'm all like, test me. Come on. Like, come talk to me about shoes.
Do you want to talk sneakers with me?
You did that a ton at Workbench Con because those baseball was it baseball card convention that was there too?
Yeah,
there's a collectible collection.
Either way, they all had like 6 shoes that Thelma knew about. I watched you point out multiple people and you were like, look, trying to educate me.
Because it was cool. Like a lot of like, obviously like around here. And I joke about it because Visalia is still like a small town in California, but compared to other states, like they joke and we're like, isn't your town like a city? Because it's like 200,000 people who live here. And I guess a city, it doesn't become a city until like 400,000 people live here or something like that. There's an exact number and we haven't hit it yet. So we're still a town. And in this town, not a lot of people have like shoe collections. So like I'll see them sporadically. And when we were at Workbench Con, I was seeing like a whole bunch of shoes that I normally only see when I go to LA or San Francisco or like
so you were just like cheesing out because
look, he's wearing some Travis Scott 4s. Like those are nice. Or like
yeah. Uh-huh.
Yep.
That I did not know.
My husband, I had him go to that because I was like, go do something for a couple hours. I want some alone time. I was like, I love you, but I need alone time. So he's like, hell yeah, I'll go to a collectible thing. Bye.
Did he have fun?
He did. No, he had a good time. He was awesome. He like was, if I didn't have him there with me, it would have sucked because like he helped me with all the scheduling and how I was going to like announce things. And then like he was holding shit, just like having someone to hold your shit. That's key right there. So
that's Heather right there.
Yeah.
Hold all my stuff.
But like, I'm like that too. Like if we go to like an amusement park, I'm like, hold it. Like, I'm like, let's go. But no, it was great. Like he's going to come to Haven with me too and do the same thing. It's so much easier. It makes life better.
Dang, you're going to Haven?
I am. I'm going to be hosting it on the same way. Yeah. The same way I did it with Workbench Con.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun.
Is that for DIY? Is that like more towards DIYers? Like
DIY and lifestyle.
Stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's either like curating your house. So there'd be people with, obviously a much larger budget. So they're more of purchasing things and styling their houses.
Okay.
And then there's the DIY crews that are taking older houses and renovating them. So it's 2 very diverse groups that live in that world. It's kind of interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And then you can see them kind of starting to blend because I'm sharing both of them to the page. So they're starting to interact. It's very interesting. It's like a little experiment.
I have to look into that.
Yeah. A lot of furniture flips, like people who restore furniture.
Mad props to people who restore, do DIY and stuff like that. My mom asked me to redo the front door to her house. And
I have to do that.
And I was like, I could do that. No big deal. See, this is how I get myself into trouble. Like, it'll be easy. It should only take about a day. Like, once you start getting to like the grooves and the details of the door, I'm all like, oh, okay, this is a lot harder than I thought. Because then it turns into hand sanding into like really tight places. And I'm like, you should probably pay someone to finish this off.
Wow, you leave her in a lurch. Like that shoddy contractor she hired.
I'm gonna be on that show. What is it on DIY?
It's like Homes on Homes.
Oh yeah,
he comes in and just tells all the shit that's wrong. My dad loves that guy. If I ever had a chance to meet him, I'd have to take my dad and not my husband because my dad would kill me.
Oh my God.
You did not let Mike meet him and not have me. So you weren't like handy before? You never did anything like that? Like what made you think like I can do that?
So I was a destructive child growing up.
Perfect.
I am the oldest of 3. I have a brother and a sister. They're younger than I am. And my dad was a mechanic, and he still is, actually. He is a mechanic. So a lot of the time, like, I spent like in the shop with him, except for the fact that like he wouldn't let me touch anything. He wouldn't let me touch anything. I think when we first got here, because I wasn't born here, I was born in Mexico.
Okay.
So my dad kind of like brought some of like that like Mexican like toxic masculinity.
I was like male chauvinism.
Yeah, like
Gotcha.
like women don't belong like in the shop and like all this stuff. And I would always tell him like, I want to learn like why, like you'll have someone like who can change your oil, like it's not something that you're going to be doing. I'm like, but I still want to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
Like even if
I'm so
not
glad that's faded out so much like nowadays.
and
it's so nice.
Yeah, so like going from that to like how he is now, like he'll drag me with him, and I'm like, I joke and I'm like the son you never had, but he has a son. He just doesn't like getting dirty. So it's usually me like tagging along when he goes to like junkyards and like to pick up stuff, and like we chit chat back and forth about, you know, stuff like that. But I was a destructive child. That definitely was a lot to handle for like a first time.
Maybe that's why he didn't want you touching stuff.
Right.
Oh, the truth comes out.
I'm just saying, maybe he wasn't really toxic masculine. And it was just like, I don't need you to break my shit today, kid.
Right. Yeah, no. So I would actually like tear things apart to see how they were so I could put them back together. So like I always enjoyed doing things like that. So like sometimes we would go to the swap meet and I would find something. I'm like, if it doesn't work, I could try to see like how to fix it. So I would like unscrew it from the back and like take it apart. And like sometimes it would work and I would be able to fix it. So I've always enjoyed working with my hands. And I ended up getting like I ended up going to school for psychology, nothing to do with like anything artistic. And then I finally was just like, I'm gonna try like drawing. Was a terrible artist. So like I started experimenting on things that like involved like working with your hands, and that's when I stumbled across woodworking, and just the way that it made me feel, just everything about it was like I have to keep going. And the type of person that I am is like when I go in, I go all in. And I just like started like learning. I bought myself like I call it the woodworking Bible, that has like everything about all tools, hand tools and safety. And like I was just like, I'm gonna learn this, like even if no one in my family like does carpentry or like any type of woodworking, I'm gonna learn this craft. And I mean, up until today, like that's essentially like how I got into woodworking, was just wanting to do something new that like kind of just piqued my interest. And then I was just like, this is perfect, because I found something that I genuinely enjoy doing like every single day. So then I just started learning more about it. And then I started learning the things that I hate doing, so then I don't do them again. I learned that my shop is small and I can't take on like huge projects. So like all my projects have to be like smaller scale, or else I'm going to be struggling and cursing inside of my shop, and then it's not fun anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of brings you to like the product world. If you're going small, then you're making like products like cutting boards. That's how you did like a lot of those and stuff like that. Business card holders. That works though. Yeah. You can specialize it and you can make your wood, as you know, last longer.
Absolutely. And then I started like, you know, tampering with epoxy. And
spilling it all over your floor.
Yeah, spilling it all over my floor.
Happens.
Yeah, it's just it's been a wild ride with epoxy, because I thought it was going to be a lot easier than it actually was. And that's why I keep saying like all the things that I think that are easy are the things that are the hardest. And it's just like the cure times and making sure that everything is exact, and you can't really wing it or eyeball it. Like everything has to be precise. So there's been a couple mess ups. The epoxy that I dropped all over my floor, and just I scooped it up with a dustpan.
I was saying, how did you get that off the floor? I'm thinking like paper plates, like a technique, you know, like shove.
I put on a tank top and I looked at the floor. I saw like luckily my Merca, I keep it kind of just a little bit underneath my planer, and it sits on top of like the vacuum with like the sustainers. So it lives up there, and the hose drops and hits the floor. So like probably like a good, I want to say maybe like that much of my Festool hose is like just caked with epoxy.
Oh man.
It hasn't like cracked or anything from that. It's just holding strong.
Because it was just the resin.
Yeah.
And I thought, like,
Oh, okay.
So like it's sticky, and I've tried cleaning it. I've
Oh.
tried like white vinegar. So like with all of like the stuff, luckily I didn't have a lot of stuff on my floor. I took a dustpan and the scraper that I used to lay down the vinyl stencils for my cornhole, and I was just like scraping it and like dumping it in like a bucket, and just scraping it and dumping it. But it took me like probably 2 hours to pick up, and then the floor was still sticky. And then I kept getting DM'd. One of the people who DM'd me was like, I work with chemicals, and you need to make sure that like you clean it up the best that you can, because during the summer, the fumes. And I was all like, no.
So,
like
Heather's your wife's name?
Yeah. What was that?
Your wife's name is Heather?
Yeah, my wife's name is Heather.
Okay, so Heather, we now know what to get her for a present. She needs a new hose. She might kill herself this summer, so let's get her a new hose.
Or a respirator, like a full
Yeah.
A full respirator.
Check on Thelma every once in a while when she's in the shop. Make sure she's still there.
Yeah, so now like I'll walk past like where I spilt my epoxy, and all you hear is like of like my shoes sticking to the floor. But
add hardener.
Yeah.
Too late.
Someone joked about just add hardener to the floor and then just epoxy your floors.
Honestly,
man.
you might have to be honest. Like,
Throw some flex in that and call it a deck.
yeah, exactly. You probably weren't planning on making that floor pretty, but might have to.
Right? Just throw some confetti on it and then some hardener, and then just let it dry.
I dare you.
Yeah, I got really lucky though. I let Moss know what had happened, and they replaced my epoxy.
That's nice.
So they came in clutch. They're nice people.
I got to hang out with them this past week, and they are exceptional. They're really great.
They are.
That's cool. The epoxy world seems like they've got some good groups, at least like Total Boat and them. Like they seem to like have a good presence with everybody, which is nice.
Yeah, and just because it's like it goes back to kind of like things that like we've talked about within our maker community is just the customer service aspect of it. Like to a lot of people, it's extremely important. You can have an amazing product, and when your customer service isn't really there to back it, you don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So do you have any summer projects coming up, Thelma, for yourself or for someone else?
I actually I am working on plans to make my own bed frame.
Nice.
In our room. And I have recently gotten into like vinyl records. And we have like a small collection going. So I want to do kind of just like this, I wouldn't necessarily call it like an art piece, but like it'll go on the wall to hold like the records, but it also serve as
so the records are like just one.
Yeah, just like it'll be like kind of like a wall of records, but like the top part will hold other things as well. So it'll be like multifunctional. And then I'm going for like a minimalistic look for our like actual bed frame. So I mean, I think I can make it happen.
You can make it happen. Dan Dunlap built not too long ago?
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah.
What do you want to use for your wood?
I am thinking about using ash. It's affordable, and it's stainable, and it stains really well. So that's definitely like where I'm headed. I think the last final part is just deciding on a type of style and then starting my plans for it. But right now, we need to make sure my wife and I pick the right style, or else we're gonna be stuck with a bed that is like, nope, I didn't want this. Like, this is what you wanted. So like, it just has to be kind of
plan it out together. Is this your first big piece like of furniture? Yeah,
it's actually like my first like big piece. So I am a little nervous just because it's expensive and I don't want to ruin it. But I think once we find the right design, I'm pretty sure I'll figure out a way to make it happen. And
for sure.
I'm sure
Do
there's
you
plenty
use
of
ash
plans.
for the slats, or can you use like a cheaper material for the slats that go across? Do you have?
I don't know. I would assume hardwood.
Yeah, it's usually like, well, all of the bed frames I've seen, they make it out of pine. I've seen the main like fundamental structure is in the middle section. So you have it like on the sides of the bed and the middle part, which keeps it from just dipping and cracking in the center.
Yeah.
So you have that like brace in the middle.
Mhm.
So I mean, we'll see. Because I mean, if they're just gonna be like tiny strips, I don't imagine that like cost wise, like if it's like a difference of like $60 to $70, like I'm gonna go with hardwood and make sure it lasts.
Mhm.
Especially because of pine right now at big box stores kind of looks a little funky for what you're paying for it. So
For sure. Man, that's gonna be good.
I have a
I know.
question on your like Mixall. I noticed that you use that. Is that how you say it? First of all, is it Mixall?
It's Mixall.
I was talking to them before, and like it's an additive, like a color additive, so you get to add it to stuff, right?
Mhm.
What got you into trying that?
So when I started making cornhole boards, how do I explain this? So like kind of like what I touched on before, like when I go in, I go all in. And I ran into I think it was like 2 or 3 makers who I love the way their boards look. And that's Hunter from Burley Bags. I don't know his name, but he has Moose Boards, and Andrew from AG Woodcrafts. So those are like 3 of the main guys that when I started like my woodworking like journey, they're the pages that I would look at for inspiration on like their cornhole boards. And I'm like, I wonder how like they do it. And Moose Boards was actually the first guy I reached out to. And I was like, hey, like, I know you don't know me. I'm like, and if at any point I ask you something, because I was like, I don't know how people are, maybe they don't want to reveal their secrets.
Right.
So I was like, hey, like if at any point, like if you don't want to, it's okay with me. Like, I'm just going to ask, like, how do you like get your boards to look the way that they do? And like, are you using vinyl? Because if you are, it looks amazing. And he ended up responding. He's all like, oh, no worries at all. Like, super nice guy. So like, I actually use a temporary stencil. He's like, I laid down the temporary stencil on the topper of the cornhole board. So like, and then I take like gel stain, and then I mix color tints into it and create custom colors. He's like, and that's how I can customize these cornhole boards to the liking of whoever orders it. So I started like picking at his brain. So then I purchased a Graph Tech, which is like a 24-inch vinyl cutter. And I started like making my own vinyl stencils. And then when I ran into Hunter, he had like these like super cool, like, I don't know if you've seen like the sunblock with the monkey on it.
No.
Like I it's like banana something.
Banana boat?
I
Banana
think
boat.
it's banana boat.
Yeah.
And it's
Okay,
like,
yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
and he got like this like vibrant yellow, and like I'm like, where are you getting like these colors? It's like,
Right.
and then he's like, I use Mixall stains, like Mixall tints. And I'm like, what is that? So he started talking to me about what it is and like how you mix different colors with the base tints from General Finish. You can get like super like cool vibrant like navy and yellow and orange, like colored tints that you can't find anywhere. It's like you can make them yourself.
That's cool.
So
And you don't waste a lot of product, because you know how many times you've bought like those stains that you pre-mix, and then you let them dry out or they go bad because you only needed it for one product, but you just wasted a whole thing of stain. I have a lot of different colors for sure. I've got some purple, some green over there.
Yeah, so I ended up buying like kind of just like these the General Finish, like the pines. And I'll use them for base, and then I'll put like all my Mixall stains in there, and like there's formulas for different colors, and I drop them in, like stir it, and that's what I'm going to use for the project. So I made like a Dodger Stadium, so I mixed my grays, my blues, and like my reds, and I designed essentially like the actual cornhole board. So that's when I found out that Mixall is not just for adding to stains. You can add it to like anything. So I'm like, I can put it in epoxy. and I can use it for like so many things. I'm like, perfect. So I ended up buying like 2 tubs of Mixol, and like now I just like sit there and like custom make colors.
That's cool.
Like whenever I'm making cornhole boards.
They're pondering coming to Workbench Con for next year. So yeah. I was like, I'll tell them that there's lots of love for them.
Oh, 100% lots of love. What is it? Like all of the mixologists out there.
Oh, is that their tagline?
It's like the Mixol magic or mixologist, and they're like the people who sit there and make like these awesome and like fabulous like new colors.
That's really cool that they do that though. So, and then they give those formulas to everybody. That's neat.
Yeah.
Your boards do look really good, so it's clearly working for you.
Thank you.
I say the colors in her logo too, like on the piece that you made that you put on your table saw. It looks so cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I use Mixols for that too. Like I just nothing but love for them. They always make like their products are great. Their customer service is amazing. And that's like I like that. I like good products, great customer service, and they have it. And that's why like I try to share their products with whoever is either starting with cornhole boards or wants them like for epoxy. Like, here you go. You'll fall in love with them just like I did.
I love when there's a product like that though that you like absolutely can't live without. It's something like essential.
Yeah.
What's yours, Christy?
3M abrasives.
And that, have you tried it?
I do like them. I know I will talk about them because of the Workbench Con. They gave you the free samples and they are awesome. I tried them out on a wood carving, curious to see how it would stand, and it did great with all the dips and stuff. Because I was like, oh, I've never used one of these for like a carved sign, and it worked well.
Yeah, dude. I mean, did you know the owner was there? He came to Workbench Con. The owner of Taylor Toolworks, I should say.
Okay.
Supplied them.
I said hi.
Yeah, it's because I'm gonna give you a pitch now, Thelma, since you put me on the spot for 3M abrasives. Here's why it's different. Precision shaped grain. Instead of like most gritty sandpapers, it's just kind of like bumpy grit. And they actually sharpen each individual grit into a triangle. And so it rakes your wood more. And that's why it removes so much more material in a faster period. And it's actually, while it's sanding, it's actually resharpening that triangle again. So that's why it lasts longer as well. And they have like microscopic images of their paper and you can see the triangles. It's kind of crazy.
Isn't it fun when like you actually learn those kind of things when you're working with a brand though? It's just like interesting things that you learn.
It's super nerdy, but ever since I read that blog post by Katz Moses, and he did that robotics study. Did you guys read that?
I've seen that. Yeah. I haven't.
His
I
video.
Didn't, yeah.
And he has a blog post and he summarizes like all the papers that he tried out, and they put a robotics arm on the sander so that it would be a controlled study, you know, and it smoked everybody else. And it's like 40 cents per disc. And whereas like some of the Merca papers and high-end stuff are over $1 per disc when you break it down.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I whipped out my cordless DeWalt sander to use the sandpaper on the set of cornhole boards that I'm working on now. And I'm really impressed. Like I genuinely like the way that it sanded. It left like a super soft finish. And I go high grit when I finish. So after I lay down the stain, the temporary Oracle adhesive that I use will lift up the grain slightly. So I need like super fine grit to kind of clean up the area without sanding off what I just stained. And it worked.
Did you go 220 for that, or did you go higher than that?
I go high. I used the I think it was like 340 or 320. It was whatever came in that pack. The highest grit disc is what I used. And I was impressed that at 320, it left like a super smooth finish. And I think I only went back to touch up like one area. And other than that, like the rest of it was just super smooth.
She takes pride in her boards.
I approve. Yep. I take pride in my Baltic Birch topper boards.
Isn't that like the most expensive plywood right now though?
Absolutely, but you get no play. And that's what you want in cornhole boards, especially when people want regulation size. It's just you want no play in all those boards, and then there's no voids like in the layers of plywood.
Mm-hmm.
And once you finish like the edges, that's the best part, because you can see all the layers of the Baltic birch like on the side, and it kind of seals the deal on like the cornhole board. So
yeah, we've all played on some shitty bouncy boards before, I'm sure. It's not as fun.
They're all like, oh, you just flopped that one in there.
Yeah. You bounced my thing off.
Yeah, not too long ago. Not too long ago, Starbucks had like this. We have partner networks because we call each other partners because we all have stock in the business.
What do you do at Starbucks?
I'm actually a store manager.
Store manager?
Yeah, so I'm a store manager at Starbucks. They were actually the first employer to give me a job because I wasn't born here. When I was probably like in my second year of college. Up until then, like I wasn't able to work anywhere. I was on what's called an AB 540, which is a petition that I signed that's so long that I graduated high school, or had like at least 2 or 3 years of high school in California. I was able to fill out that form to pay in-state tuition. So up until that point, I was paying in-state tuition with no financial aid help. And I mean, I hope the IRS doesn't come for me, but I needed a way to pay for school. So I did have like a lot of like jobs that paid cash. And that's
don't worry, every American does that. So you're fine.
You're like, the IRS, please close your ears. I want a back tax letter.
We all have those jobs when you're younger that you get a little cash for.
Yeah,
at least I did.
Yeah,
I worked at a furniture store, at a granite store, and it was all because after my first semester, I lived in the dorms because I went to Cal State Northridge, and it's in close to LA, kind of by Hollywood, and they have a great psych program, like, and it's inexpensive. It's a state school, like I should be okay. My parents were helping me like pay for my schooling, and then one day I get a call, and my mom goes, "I'm sorry, but like I can't continue to pay for your tuition, so you're gonna have to kind of find a way to make it happen." So I ended up like tacking on a couple, I think I worked like at one point worked 3 jobs and went to school full time to like pay for school. And when the DACA, like the Dream Act was passed, I applied for DACA, and every 2 years I would renew and get like a temporary work permit.
Oh, cool.
And when I got that work permit, I was all like, look, I come in and drink some of your coffee. Like, are you guys hiring? And they're all like, we actually are. And that manager hired me on the spot. So like, I have a soft spot for Starbucks.
Yeah.
And I'm a store manager with them now. And we had like full circle. We had like this partner network event where like we wanted all of our partners to go to get in touch with like, you know, our women's like impact network and our LGBTQ partner network, just because we have spaces for everybody. And someone brought a cornhole board. The cornhole board was like screwed on like together and like was slightly falling apart, and they're all like, you didn't make this, did you? I'm like, no, that wasn't me.
it wasn't me.
It wasn't me. This isn't my work. But
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so definitely a lot of stuff going on with that company, but like I said, they always have like a special place in my heart, especially during like that tough time of like going to school. I'm like, no one's ever gonna hold that place. I'm like, they treat like all of our employees are treated extremely well, including myself. So I actually enjoy like going to work every single day.
That's awesome.
I'm sore by the time I get out. I'm all like, but I enjoy it.
Don't you work really, really early?
Yeah. So sometimes I'll work at 4 a.m, 6 a.m. It changes. But for the most part, I work during like the busiest times because that's when they want like the manager presence. So I'll work during our peak hours, which are like from 7 to 9, Monday through Friday. And I'll work weekends like not in between 9 to 11 and make sure I'm always there. Because it gets insane. Even in a town like this, it gets crazy.
They need their coffee.
Exactly.
Guess what? Starbucks story. It's brief. So this past week I flew into Denver and we were supposed to drive to the middle of nowhere, Nebraska. We did not. Stupid Adam, lazy guy DIY, was driving and he was using Waze.
Yep.
Have you guys heard that?
I've heard of it, yeah.
It's a direction, it's GPS thing. And there was an accident and it did a big reroute and we just like trusted it and didn't look at it. And it took us through Wyoming on accident. Instead of just going diagonal to Nebraska, it took us up and over like big reroute.
No.
So anyways, we were like driving and it's like, welcome to Wyoming. We're like, what? Well, needless to say, the drive took a little longer. We needed a Starbucks like ASAP. We were like, where in Wyoming? Like nothing. It's trains and rocks and mesas. Looks like we're on another planet. But we see a Starbucks sign, wouldn't you know it? And we exited and then we couldn't find it. And we just had to keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. And then we eventually wound up, there's like literal tumbleweeds going across the road. And it was in a grocery store. Doesn't matter. We found it. There was one barista, an empty grocery store. We got our frappuccinos and left. But we had to drive like off that exit. We just like, I can't believe it's still not here yet. But apparently there's even Starbucks in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming.
Oh man.
So
now I know when I get job posting alerts, like, do you want to relocate? And there's one from Wyoming, I'm going to be like, absolutely not.
No, there's nothing in that town. Don't go.
Is that something you want to do? Like move one day, or do you like where you are?
I joke about it. I think the worst part of living in California are taxes.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I'd ever move out of California. So where I was born in Mexico is actually where San Diego is, at the tip of California.
Okay.
I'm about maybe an hour away.
Okay.
I was born in Ensenada, which is a port where all the cruise ships will like stop, and then like tourists will go and like explore Ensenada, and then they'll get back on the boat, and then it'll take them to wherever they're going. And they always stop there. So I'm like, I can't, like my family lives there. Like if I can't, I'd get homesick. I remember when I was in high school telling myself like, I'm going to get out of here and I'm going to go somewhere else and I'm never coming back. And here I am. Like I graduated from college and I came back to my hometown, like a place where I told myself that I wouldn't come back.
How'd you meet Heather?
I was going to ask that.
I actually, so I transferred back. So after I graduated from Cal State Northridge, I stayed in LA for a year. I loved it. I loved the flexibility of having so many things to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I hated how long it took to get there. Like you don't really go by miles, you go by time because there's traffic everywhere. And I think after my time of living there, I was like, I can't do this forever. I can't be always stuck in traffic. Like it's not for me. I ended up moving back. I think I was here maybe about like 2 years, had just gotten out of like probably like one of like the most unhealthiest relationships I've ever been in. And it was a lot. And I told myself, I'm going to be single. I'm like, I'm going to have fun. And I'm going to do like all these things like alone. And so that's what I did. Like I would go to movie theaters by myself. And like, I learned kind of just to be by myself. I'm like, I'm just going to be alone. And I knew Heather from other like coworkers, and every single time, like we would see each other, like be like, hey, like we kind of just knew each other through other people. And I remember one of like my coworkers going like, why don't you talk to her? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, she's really pretty. Like, no, like, how is this going to go? Like, hey, nice to meet you. My name is Thelma. Like, I would like to take you on a date. I'm all like, no, like, I can't do that. They're like, you should like, just go for it. And I'm like, yeah, no. So I did like what I know how to do best. And I stalked her. Or Starbucks.
And I stalked her.
Yeah, I stalked her in the most respectful way possible. So I would show up because she was actually a store manager for Starbucks downtown. So I would go, we already went to that Starbucks. Like my family and I would go there like in the mornings to get coffee. So I would see her from time to time. And then when I wouldn't see her that day, I'm like, one of these days I will muster up the courage to actually like talk to her and like say like, hey, like, would you like to hang out? I never did that. It was actually her. She ended up like requesting me as a friend on Facebook when Facebook was big. And during that time, I was playing on a like Starbucks softball league, like with a bunch of coworkers. So after she added me, like we started talking about something. I was like, hey, like on a whim, I'm all like, would you actually like to come watch us like play softball? And she's like, I'd love to. And in my head, I'm all like, she's probably just being nice and she's not going to show up. But I'm like, whatever. And I just left it like that. Go to the game and I play outfield. And then I see her actually show up to the game. And I remember getting so nervous. I'm all like, she's actually here.
She's here.
Like she actually showed up. And I got a pop fly.
You're like, don't hit the ball to me. Don't hit the ball to me.
Right. I'm like, don't hit the ball over here. I'm like, no, I got this. So like I get my glove ready and like I'm going up and the ball hits the tip of my glove and then goes behind me. And I'm like, oh, like it's an accident. Like it happens, like grabbed it, like throw it back. But then it happens again. And this time it's like a heavy grounder. And then I go to like kneel down to like grab the ball and it goes right in between my legs. This is so embarrassing. Like I'm like, I know I'm not an amazing softball player, but I'm better than this. And now I'm embarrassed. So the game's over. Like we lost. Like I'm so embarrassed. And now like she's there. And I'm just like, hey, like, thanks for coming. And like in my head, I'm like, you totally saw me like miss like everything and just like ruin everything in the outfield. But yeah, here you are. We ended up going for drinks all together. And we actually ended up like talking till like 2:00 in the morning. And then we made a date. We're all like, we're going to go to the movie theater. And then in my mind, I'm all like, what is this? Like, is she just like wanting a friend? I'm all like, because I don't want to like, you know, do anything. And then like, no, that's not what I meant. Like, you seem like a really cool person. And I want to get to know you. So we go to the movie theater and we're sitting like right next to each other. And we're both kind of like this, just like watching the movie like intensely. And all I can think about was like, I kind of want to hold her hand, but I don't want her to think I'm creepy. So like, I'm just like sitting there with like my hands on my legs. Till this day, I do not know what the movie was about because I was so focused on, should I put
your hands on your legs?
Like, should I not? Like the most like simple thing is just like to grab someone's hand. I'm all like, nope. And I'm just like sitting there. So when the movie's over, I'm like, thank you so much. I had a fun time. And I gave her the world's like most awkward hug. And I'm like, you have a good night. And like I'm walking to my car and I'm like, you're such an idiot. And I ended up calling her back and was like, hey, like, would you like to get dinner? And she's like, I'd love to. And we joke about it till this day. And she's like, I thought you just were going to want us to be friends. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. I just didn't know where it was going. So it was just like a bunch of like both of us being like the type of person who don't like lead strongly. And like, I'm all like, yeah, no. And in my head, like, I mean, I obviously my wife is beautiful and like I just like I can't. I like she ended up proposing to me and I still can't believe it. We've been married for like 5 years and I'm just like, are you sure like you were okay like the day that you asked me to marry you? Like
Thelma, I'd really hate to break this to you, but you're attractive. Just want to let you know that.
Oh, thank you.
Just want to throw that out there.
Sorry to bust your bubble, films, but you're awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. But yeah, it's so she tells me that. But I'm like, you just have to say that because you're my wife.
Or that is true. I mean,
that's hilarious.
There's that. That's awesome. That's so cool that that Starbucks kind of brought you guys together too, and it's such a big part of your life.
I know it was. It's probably like one of like like the best feelings to be like to have met someone through something that like helped me through like such a weird time in my life. And then like meeting someone in like that same space. It's like you share something in common. And like, so I'll get home and like I'll talk about my day, and she like understands like the struggle because she's done it.
Yeah.
Because she manages for she's like a retail operations manager for Ulta. So she does like, she's in the makeup world. And
I was gonna say this explains the makeup now. Okay.
yeah.
I really only know that brand because of my niece, because she's a model. So like all that, but yeah.
Yeah, they got it all.
Nice.
So like she supplies me with like cologne, and like every now and then like they'll give her like things to like try out, so then that way they can talk to customers about it.
Makes
and
sense.
They put little green lines on the barcode so everyone knows it's gratis. And she'll get home with like bags, and I'm all like, this all better be gratis.
You're
like,
looking at each bottle.
Right? I'm all like, this doesn't have a green line.
She's like, I'll show you. I bought a green marker.
She has a green marker in her car. Yeah.
You're gonna find it in her dash one day, and just like, what the fuck?
Right? I'm all like, I knew it.
Oh,
That's
Lord.
awesome.
That's cute.
Well, does she like that you woodwork?
She does.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, but I genuinely enjoy spending like a lot of time with her, and sometimes like not even doing like extravagant things. They'll just be like simple things. So like I've tried to get her to woodwork, but she's kind of like told me, this is your space. Like
It's not for everyone.
Like, it's not for everybody. She's like,
Yeah.
I'm really clumsy. Like, you do not want me here. So like now and then she'll like poke in, and like she'll sit down and like watch me do things. But I once was like, well, maybe you'll like actually enjoy it. Like if you take it slowly. Like I think I tried teaching her how to use the table saw, and she's like, nope, it's not for me. Like this is not something that I enjoy. So she likes that I can venture off into like the back shed, do my thing, come back, and
It's
like
nice
I
having
get
your
me
own
time.
space. Yeah, exactly. It's healthy too.
When I first started though, there was a lot of conversations behind you're spending a lot of time in your shop. Because I would spend like hours and hours out there, because not that it's not fun to me anymore, but like you're just like learning like the basics of woodworking. So I would spend a lot of time in the shop and be like, you're kind of forgetting about me, homie. And I was just like, okay, you're right. Like
I have
so
those conversations a lot with my husband. I'm always like checking in. Is this, I'm gonna go out there now again. Okay. You're like, I'm just like.
And the funny part is that you don't realize how many like people struggle with that.
Yeah.
I've had like people reach out to me like in DMs, because I think I've talked about this with someone else about how when I first started, like I wasn't like completely myself, because I felt like it was already like hard to come out like as being gay and like a Catholic family with like very like set views. And I was like, do I want to woodwork and do this and like, you know, be my true self? And I'm like, this is who I am. Like there's no like, why am I going to be someone that I'm not? So I'm very open about it. And I would have people ask me like, hey, like, you know, I follow your channel, like also part of like the LGBTQ community. Like, does your significant other also give you like a lot of like, you know, I wouldn't necessarily call it like shit, but like give you like a hard time for spending so much time out in the shop, and how do you balance it? And I remember responding like, I'm struggling with that right now. Like I can't find like that perfect balance of like work, life, hobbies, and just like how it's like this triangle where you can only have two, and like one gets left behind, and like finding like that sweet spot to be able to do all three. And that's when I realized that other people struggle with that.
We all do. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Instagram is a big factor there, honestly. Because if it were just woodworking, I feel like we'd be able to do what we can do and then go in. But when you want to share it with all your friends online, that does take time. You get lost in conversations and stuff, but it's like, yeah, it's what you said. It's really hard to balance, because it's like good in nature to be in community.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's at the detriment of like your spouse or your family, shoot, it's tough.
Putting the phone down is a challenge. Absolutely. It is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm still working on it. It's still a work in progress, but like I'll come back and like rebalance and kind of just like ask myself, like, am I spending the right amount of time like doing the right things? Because that can wait. But you know, especially with like things that happen like recently, like I think when we were at Workbench Con, like I was like pretty sure like a lot of health problems had happened before like actually getting to Workbench Con. That I got news that I felt like relief while I was at Workbench Con, because just a lot of things happened and it kind of just put things into perspective. And there's nothing like that feeling of like there's a possibility of like something really bad happening that kind of just like rebalances your life. And you ask yourself, like, I never really think about like all the things. I think about like the actual like memories I've made and the things that I've done and all the things that I have yet to do, that kind of just puts that balance back in of like how important family is and spending quality time with them and just making sure to make time for the things that matter most.
Yeah.
My homie right there.
We all feel it though, you know, it's true. We do. It's tough. And the more like I'm leaning into content creation and podcasting, it's like I'm asking a lot more of my husband too, because I'm still doing like the day job, you know, and so it's like I gave my notice, but like I gave him a 3 month. I gave a 3-month notice.
Wow.
So I still have 2.5 months left, but it's like I can do this. We can do this for 2.5 more months. Like it's like we can make it through. Yeah, exactly. Yep. So no, it's been good. Like once you like communicate with your partner and like this is gonna be good for our family. Like it's a weird transition, but it's like this will be good for us eventually. So it's nice. But Chrissy, I know like it's late, but I want to hear a little bit about your trip and how it was to be on Renovation Hunters.
Oh my gosh.
Surreal.
Yeah.
Surreal.
I guess I didn't anticipate how much work it would be. Like, especially even leading up to the shooting, to plan, because you really have, you know, you have a couple people took a couple trips out ahead of time to be able to make like CAD drawings of the house.
Okay, that makes sense.
But still, it's like nerve-wracking to try to plan a renovation based on numbers that someone else measured and you hope are right. When you have to calculate all your materials and work with partners, try to make sure it gets there. It was a lot.
So there's a lot of pre-planning that went into even before you even went.
Yeah. And then to execute while we were there, when there's so much to be done. Put it this way, when we wrapped filming 24 hours ago, 48 hours ago, they're like, we'll probably never do another project this big. Like we kind of bit off a lot for the first house. It was a lot of square footage, but it was incredible. Like I did not anticipate friendships like blossoming from it. And I kind of just thought I was going to work and hope that maybe other things came from it and keep going. But like when it was time to leave, it was actually really bittersweet.
I mean, you're up there with a great crew of people.
Yeah. And it was like all day. We started breakfast at 6:30 every morning, and some nights worked till midnight, and like it was a lot. But when you spend all that time with people, like sharing meals and like figuring out problems and doing it while on camera and being like, camera guys are like, can you not make progress on that for 30 minutes? Because we're going to come back and film you. Yeah, no problem.
I've heard about that.
No problem. Like we're on a tight deadline, but yeah, no problem.
I think Joni talked about that when she was on Behind the Maker with me, like the pauses that you don't realize that happen. And I was interviewing Danny Kissel. He won Outrageous Pumpkins, and he was saying like when competitions start on those shows, they'll be like 1, 2, 3, go, but you can't all really run at the same time. You have to wait for camera 1 to go. then the clock is ticking and you have to sit there and hold until the camera's in reposition to go again. It's like the things that cause you anxiety on a show.
Yeah, like it was different, but in reality, like the camera crew was awesome. Never anticipated like bonding with them. Like when they didn't need to film, they were picking up tools and helping us.
Oh wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, like Wall Control came out, Moss Epoxy came out, Baird Brothers came out, and every single person like helped us, and we needed it. And like so, it was.
How big?
I can tell you one night we got to go down to the bar and have like a party with the whole town, which population was like under 160 people.
Wow.
So literally more than half the town was there. And they're mostly cattle ranchers. And that was like the most special night, just to see different worldviews and hear different ways of life. And they were all so tickled like that a show was being filmed in their town. And I was just so tickled to like talk with people that I wouldn't normally get to talk to.
Yeah.
So it was really special. But yeah, 2 more shoots this summer.
Do you know the other locations, or can you talk about them? Probably not. Yeah.
We don't have them yet.
Okay.
They people started submitting their cabins. There's a website you can.
Oh yeah, I saw
a video if you want to try to get us to come to your place. And we've had like an overwhelming response. The Outdoor Channel said they've never had a response like this. So this week and next week, they're planning to look through all the submissions and try to pick the next 2 places. But we're trying to have everything done by August. So that's all I know.
That's so cool to hear that though. And maybe it goes to show that since they are hiring people who are content creators who have followings on Instagram, it brings more people hearing the message of, hey, we are looking for cabins. Like it's a lot of people talking about it. So that's cool. That's really good for the maker community. I was telling Rob that like I thanked him when they were doing the premiere at Workbench Con. I go, thank you for doing these kind of shows that are piloting things that are getting other makers career growth. Like these are opportunities that are opening up for people in our world. And it's really cool to see this. Like the same thing with like the this old house having like a maker channel, like these avenues that are starting to open up for this community. Like there's real careers that you can have here.
Amen to
So
that.
cool. I know, it's like I'm loving being the social media manager. I'm loving doing like representing brands and stuff. It's really cool. And like
it's opening up.
Yeah, I never thought that would be something that I could get into for making. I always thought I had to do it for other brands, you know. So to know that you can get a career in it, it's really fun.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I'm proud.
Yeah, I love seeing everybody in here thrive.
All right, I hope you enjoyed getting to know Thelma. She is a ton of fun and super talented at woodworking and just a really good person. So if you want more of me, Carver Conversations is really blasting off right now. We've got a bunch of episodes out, so go ahead and check that out. You can either watch it on Sabretooth's YouTube or on any of your favorite listening apps. It is available. So it's Carver Conversations. It's my Sabretooth podcast, and I would love it if you checked it out and let me know what you think. Huge thank you to my patrons. There is an extended episode. So we kept talking and we got into a little bit of an interview with Christy because I wanted to catch up with her. It had been a while and I really wanted to see like how the experience was, you know, recording Renovation Hunters. And so Thelma and I give her a little interview and Christy educates us on some very important information if you're a woman out in the woods. So if you want to hear about her swoop to the side, pull to the front, you'll get it when you see it. Join Patreon and help support the show. Every dollar truly counts, and I truly appreciate you supporting me. So thank you and have a great one.